What happens when the most powerful empire on earth becomes afraid of one man with no army? Alhamdulillah. Magic. Today's brief is dedicated to a few ayat from surah. That's the 7th surah of the Quran, and it is a portion of the story of Isaf, or rather of Musa alayhi salam. It's a very interesting part of the career of Musa alayhi salam. So I want to set the stage for you. Many of you, probably all of you, are familiar with the story of Musa alayhi salam. So when the magicians lost, then the government of Egypt was panicking, and the Muslims of that time, the Banu, they were also panicking. There were two different kinds of panic. One happening from Fion's government and the other happening from the Banu, is who were the Muslims of that time. And what Allah does is He places both of these episodes of panic next to each other, and one after the other. So we'll try to learn some lessons from both of these episodes and how they were shocked by what just happened. Everybody was shocked by what just happened. But before that, it's important to know some things about the religion of, I won't go into too many details, but a few things I think are important. They will help all of us understand what happened a little bit better. In the religion of the Fian, the job of Fian is to be the guide of Egypt and to be the protector of Egypt. And it used to be symbolized by a staff that he used to hold in his hand when he sat on the throne. You may have seen kings in the old days, they sit on the throne and they have a staff in their hand. The staff represented the guidance of Fian and the power of Fian, the protection of Fian. The throne of Fian used to have a snake on it on top. The staff was sacred. And another very important thing you need to know about this. There's lots of things to learn about the ancient Egyptian religion because the Quran makes quite a big subject out of the ancient Egyptians, doesn't it? But just one more thing you should know is that for them, the magician and the priest for their religion was the same person. So in the S of the Prophet ﷺ, when they accused Allah of being a chai or a sa, right, that's one category Shah is. Different category, there's different categories, but in the ancient Egyptian world, the most respected people were the priest, and they were also the magicians. Sa, these were the religious leadership. So when you read the Quran about the Sa and the time of your reading about their elite religious leadership, it's also important to note that even today, after so many thousands of years, you find that most of Egyptian architecture has disappeared. But one of the few things that always survives are their tombs and their temples. Their religious buildings are still around today. This tells you something about what they did. They invested billions into building their religious infrastructure. But the question is, you think you would build a lot of money. You invest a lot of money in something that will give you a return on investment. Why are you spending so much money to build a temple? Why are the religious leadership the most important leadership? Because for the most important part of holding on to power was to tell his people a certain kind of story. And the story was that Felon is a child of the gods. He's the child of the gods, and he's the reason there's protection in Egypt. He's the reason there's guidance in Egypt. The river, the Nile, flows, and it brings crop, and it brings prosperity to Egypt. All of it is because of Fian. And who is giving every week to tell the people that Fian is the reason we have all this? It's the magicians. And so the propaganda machine, the broadcast machinery of ancient Egypt was the temples. This is how the message was getting out to that society to maintain this fear of Fian, this respect for Fian, this awe for Fian. When Musa a.s. came and challenged him the first time, what was in his hand? A staff. What did that staff turn into? A snake. In a moment, he destroyed the entire religious mythology of Egypt. The two things that were sacred to them. The snake protects Egypt. The staff is the guidance of Egypt. Now the guidance and the protection of Egypt is in the hand of Allah Musam. So, in order to defeat him, the strategy was, let's get the best of all of our religious leadership. 2 different places, every single one of the religious leaders from all the villages, all the towns of Egypt, all of them are gathered together to challenge Musa alayhi salam. And in one day, in a single event, not only did they become believers, so the entire religious leadership became believers. It's hard for me to imagine. I live in the United States, and I imagine if all the church leadership in America got together one day and within 10 minutes, all of them became Muslims and started doing dawah right away. It's just like shocking to this. You understand how that would be shocking that happened. And now that's shocking enough. What happened on top of that is immediately says, torture these people and hang, chop up the right arm and the left leg and hang them in the streets. So 10 minutes ago, these were the most respected people in Egyptian society. These were the religious people and the leadership of Egyptian society, from the village to the cities, everywhere. And 10 minutes later, they're hanging in the street. Their body parts are bleeding out. The entire nation is shocked, in a sense, destroyed his own religion. You didn't even have to. I mean, by killing he's actually killed his own story, who's going to do the propaganda for him now, who's going to convince the people that he's a god now. Where's that going to come out? He destroyed his own leadership. That's why there was a panic. There were 2 kinds of leadership in Egypt. There was the leadership that was religious, the Sahara. There was the military leadership, the Mala, the generals. The only leadership left now is the military one. The religious one is all dead. They're gone. So they have an emergency meeting. That's the ayah I read to you. The generals from the nation have start questioning. And in the Quran you find about you don't question him. But now his own leadership is questioning him. Are you going to leave Musa and his followers? You're going to leave Musa and his entire nation. You're just going to let them stay. They have caused so much chaos in the country, and they have left you, and they have left your gods. They have left your religion. In other words, now we have to ask ourselves a very important question. Musa alayhi salam did not have an army. Musa alayhi salam did not have millions in money. He didn't have media influence. He didn't own any businesses. He didn't have economic strength. He didn't have political strength. He didn't have social. None of the factors of strength are there. And the Egyptians are the mightiest military on earth at the time. And their generals are having a panic. I would think the general should have a panic if the enemy ships are approaching from the shores. The general should have a panic if another empire is approaching and coming and attacking you, or they're stealing your trade or bankrupting your society. Why is this nation, this superpower, is panicking? Because of the people they consider slaves. They consider them slaves, and they call Musa just another magician. That's what they called him. Okay, fine, he's got some magic, but we've seen that before. It's not something special. He's just another priest from their perspective, right? Then why have an emergency meeting? And I'd like all of us to remember why. For superpowers, it's not their money that gives them power. It's not their weapon that gives them power. It's their propaganda that gives them power. The most important thing to them is their story. When they can convince people that nothing can touch them, when they can convince people they are high like the gods or their gods themselves, then they remain unchallenged and they know that they don't have the resources. So we need the greatest threat to national security for them is the one person who destroyed their entire propaganda machine. We have to wipe him out. That's why the generals didn't say, hurt the Israelites. They said, Musa, let's kill MS himself. Are you going to leave MS? And he could have responded at the time and said, okay, yeah, I think you're right. I think we have to kill MS. But you can tell not only did Fionn love Musa alayhi salam, but we learned in Surah. But there's something else. He's also afraid of Musa alayhi. Now Fionn is afraid of Musa alayhi salam. How do we know that? He saw his own. When Musa alayhi salam came into his own court, he defeated him. Then he gathered all of the best religious leadership that has been loyal to them, to him for generations, and they flipped on him in one day in front of Musa alayhi salam. They flipped on him and they were ready to die in their loyalty to Musa alayhi salam in that moment because he threatened them with death. They could have gone back and left Islam. No, go ahead. Do whatever you want. He realizes Musa has this power that I've never seen before. I'm not willing to mess with MS. So the generals were telling him, kill MS and his people. What's Fang's response? He said, we're going to kill their children. We won't kill him. We won't kill all of them either. We'll just kill their children. Targeting children became a policy of killing children became and you have to ask, why, what do you get from targeting children? That is psychological warfare. You absolutely devastate a people. You psychologically break them. You emotionally break them when you kill their children. If a person is willing to die for this cause, does that mean they're willing to see their child be ripped apart for this cause? Is a different question. So he wants to defeat these people mentally. You see, one way to control a population is propaganda, which affects the mind. It affects how they feel or how they think. And even if you're going to go to war, it's not just for the sake of war or winning land. You want to go to war in a way that breaks people's mind, breaks people's spirit. That's why kill their children. Most effective way he could find. We will be dominant above them. You wonder when he says they were already dominant over the Israelites. It's not like the Israelites had their own political entity. They didn't. They had no power. So when he says that's already true, but it's as if in this ayah, he's giving, we're going to kill their children and then we will truly be dominant over them. Meaning, even though we're physically already dominant over them, politically already dominant over them, now we will be psychologically dominant over them because it's actually a psychological war. Musa alayhi salam is freeing the minds of the people, and he needs to enslave the minds of the people again. This is their panic. Very briefly, I'll explain the other side of the panic. That's the panic of the Muslim community of the time. Are the Muslims of that time. Al-Islam comes to them and says, actually, before I tell you what he says, let me tell you what's happening. Fian is angry. Fian just killed his most important people, his religious leadership in public. That happened. The Muslims of the time were treated like second-class citizens or slaves, third-class citizens. If you're one of them, you're looking at those priests hanging in the street. You're thinking, man, he doesn't even spare those people. They're from his skin color. They're from the elite backgrounds. He didn't even spare them. We're nothing to him. He's just going to bulldoze all of us. Musa has gotten us in a lot of trouble here because he made so angry, he even killed his own people. So definitely he's going to kill all of us. So they're panicking. The Muslims are panicking because when you're facing a tyrant and you see that the tyrant's getting angry, it starts making you nervous. And one of the solutions that comes to some of their minds is maybe if we go to and we, show our loyalty and say, hey, I know that Musa gave you a hard time and I know I'm from BIS, but I don't like MSA that much. Even brought my mega hat. Make Egypt great again, right? I'm on your side. Look, I'm one of the good ones. I don't oppose you that much. Maybe they're trying to seek help from cuz you know what happens? There's a Stockholm Silk Syndrome, right? You seek protection from the one who's holding you hostage to begin with, right? They're hostages of, but they're like, well, he's got the power, he's got the country, he's got the land, he's got the military. Maybe we should beg him for safety. So the one who's killing you is the one you go begging for safety. Yeah. So they're thinking about doing this. Allah says, seek help from Allah. Now, if you hear seek help from Allah any other time, it's a general statement, but in this climate, this means stop thinking about seeking help from learn to seek help from Allah. This is the challenge between who are you going to run to? Are you going to run to or are you going to run to Allah and stay firm? Stay on your religion. Keep going. In other words, okay. I won't seek help from, but if I look like I'm right next to MS, then if he's angry at MS, he's going to be angry at all the people that are standing next to Musa Allah. Maybe I should do a little bit of social distancing from MS. Stay at a little bit of distance so that even if they get people that are around Musa alayhi salam, I'll be at a safe distance a little bit. I want to be Muslim, but not too Muslim. No. Right, because I'm not that serious about maybe if they think I'm not that religious or not that loyal to Muslim, maybe they'll leave me. He's saying, stay firm on your deen. Keep going. Persevere. The land belongs to Allah. He gives it to whoever He wants from among His slayers. This is a very powerful statement from Musa alayhi salam. In the Egyptian religion, the land belongs to Fionn. And how do you know it belongs to Fa? Because the river flows, because the crop grows, because everything is working fine. That's why we know it's supposed to belong to. That's the religious mentality. Musa alayhi salam says the right way to think about it is who has power and who does not have power. What's the formula in the Quran? What's Allah's formula? The land, actually, the world, the power, the government rule belongs to Allah. And He gives it to whoever He wants among His slaves. When He wants, He'll give it to a prophet. Like when He wants, He'll give it to Dudam. When He wants, He'll give it to Num. When He wants, He'll give it to this. Is up to Allah. He gives it to whoever He wants. And so He's telling them, He didn't even say to them like you. No, you would think He would give them a motivational, don't worry, the earth will belong to the earth will belong to the believers. No, the earth belongs to Allah. Allah gives it to whoever He wants. And then He says at the end, but you would expect maybe, okay, fine. For now it belongs to, but eventually we'll have it right. Give me some good news. Give me some motivational speech over here. He says, and in the final end, the best outcome is for those who have taqwa. Meaning the only thing you should look for is not land. You should be looking for taqwa. You need to have fear of Allah more than anything else. That's the biggest asset you will have. Bigger asset than any land. When the Banu heard this in their panic, they said, what kind of speech is this? We're having an emergency. F is going to come kill all of us. And you're giving us a taqwa. You're telling us the earth belongs to Allah. What does it give us a practical advice? What good is your Islam? It doesn't give me any solutions. They say we were being tortured before you came and we're being tortured after you came, after you arrived. In other words, they're saying this Islam of yours that you brought and we're all Muslims. It doesn't bring any solutions. We were in a bad situation before becoming Muslim or before your prophecy and after your prophecy. Like it doesn't really change any reality on the ground. If your God is so good, we should be in power and you should be destroyed. And if not, then what? Why are we even listening to you? There's no practical uplifting of the ummah from this. Practically, we're still in the same situation. So, they're criticizing Musa alayhi salam because they're frustrated, because they're not in a position of power. And Musa responds so beautifully, and this is what I'm going to conclude with. He says to them, maybe your master will destroy your enemy. Maybe your will destroy your meaning, destroy the armies. And the Muslims listen to this and say, yeah, now that's what I'm talking about. This is the kind of I want to hear when Allah will destroy the enemy. Because okay, tawafin, I heard about tawa before the earth. Belongs to Allah, I got it. Yeah. Okay, Iman, okay, I got it. That's good, but Allah will destroy the enemy, yeah, I could get. Behind this message, this is the kind of speech I need to hear. This motivated me. And then he adds, not only might Allah destroy our enemy, He might leave you in charge in the land. He's going to destroy our enemy and give us control over the land. This is the kind of Islam I can get behind. This is the message we've been telling you should be giving. Finally, I hear I want to hear something that brings back the glory days or brings us to the victory, right? Motivational speech. Except Musa alayhi salam ended the speech with one more addition part of it. They really wanted to hear, right? Maybe Allah will destroy your enemy. Maybe He will He'll give you power but He didn't say He will. He said maybe. But then He adds at the end, He said, then He. will see how do you behave that changes everything. That one statement changes everything that was said before it completely. You know how in chemistry you have something and you add an element, it changes the properties of it entirely. That's what happened in this ayah. The properties of the entire message have now changed how Allah is saying you don't have power right now, and clearly you also don't have tawwa. Because when you talk to a prophet this way, it shows that you don't have any tawwa, and you think when you have power, you're going to have tawbah if you can't even show tawwa in time of weakness. How are you going to show tawbah in times of power? And maybe Allah will give you the same power He gave. Maybe He'll make you a superpower. Maybe there will be people that were trapped under you. Maybe you'll become and they'll become the Muslim. Maybe that will happen. And then Allah will see if you're any different from them. He'll see if you're any different from it, as if He's warning those Muslims I use the word Muslims strategically because they were the followers of a prophet of that time. By definition, that is a Muslim. He's telling the Muslims of that time, you are so obsessed with having power and you don't realize that without tawwa, when you have power, you're no different than there's no difference between you and when you have power and you still don't have tawwa. And you guys right now don't have enough. You don't have it. So then He will see how you behave. In this, there's a hint from Allah that actually a test of tawwa. We're being tested in our tawwa all the time. But we are especially tested in our tawwa when we are in a position of power. I was told this neighborhood, there are people that are, mashallah, successful in the worlds of business. There are people that are influential in governance. There are people that are highly academic, etc., that attend this masjid. All of you have been given a position of power in some way or the other, economic, intellectual, governmental, some kind of power. And every one of those positions is a position where you will be challenged in your tawwa in a way that the person next to you is not. The challenge of tawwa for a taxi driver is different. The challenge of tawwa for a governor is different. That is two very different things. And the higher the wealth, power, influence, leadership, the higher it gets, the more difficult the challenge of tawwa becomes, because nobody else is there to put you in check. So the only gauge left is you have to check yourself. You have to correct yourself. What was the problem of the fam? Who's going to tell me what to do? Why should I listen to anybody else? This happens as you rise, right? Becomes harder and harder to take advice. Harder and harder to become conscious. So I pray that Allah makes us a people of tall and makes us a people that do not lose sight of the consciousness and the awareness of Allah. And we remember that no matter what power Allah gives me, whatever wealth Allah gives me, whatever status Allah gives me, Allah can give it one day, take it the next day. See, He gives, He takes. He gives, He takes. People that lived under Fion at the time never imagined a day where Fion would be gone. They couldn't imagine a day. It was impossible. And then one day he's in the bottom of the river, just in one, it would take a long campaign and this and that, just gone finished. Subhanallah.